The first time I wear camera glasses outside, the technology doesn't hit me first. The weight doesn't. The audio doesn't. The camera doesn't. What hits me is a feeling I wasn't prepared for. Awareness. Not my awareness of the world, but my awareness of myself inside the world. The moment the frames settle on my face before I press a single button or activate a single feature, I feel different. And that's the awkward truth most spec sheets never talk about. Wearing camera glasses in public changes how you move, how you look at people, and how people look back at you long before the technology proves whether it's useful or not. I step outside, and everything feels normal for about 3 seconds. Then my brain catches up. There's a camera on my face. Not one I'm holding up clearly like a phone. Not one that announces itself loudly, but one that sits quietly where my eyes are. And suddenly a simple walk becomes an internal conversation. Do people know? Do they assume I'm recording? Do I need to act differently? None of these thoughts come from the glasses themselves. They come from what the glasses represent. This is where most reviews start too late. They begin with features, with specs, with what the glasses can do. But real life starts earlier than that. It starts the moment you decide to wear them in public. And if you've never experienced that moment, you're missing the most important part of the story. I walk past the first group of people and nobody reacts. No stares. No double takes. And for a second, I relax. Maybe this won't be awkward, after all. But then I catch myself changing my behavior anyway. My head movements are smaller. My gaze feels more intentional. I'm not doing anything different, but I'm thinking about doing everything differently. That's the subtle shift camera glasses introduce. They don't force you to record. They force you to think about recording. Here's the strange part. I'm not even using the camera yet. The device is idle. But the possibility is there. And possibility is powerful. A phone camera is obvious. You raise it, people see it, they react. Camera glasses exist in a gray area. They can be recording. They can also be doing nothing. And because that line is invisible, social rules start to blur. I stop at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. A man stands next to me, scrolling on his phone. Nobody thinks twice about that. Phones are accepted, normal, invisible in plain sight. But camera glasses don't have that social history yet. They're new enough to make people curious, cautious, or confused. And that uncertainty creates tension even when nothing inappropriate is happening. As I start walking again, I realize something else. My phone stays in my pocket, not as a test. Not as discipline. Just because I don't feel the need to reach for it right now. The glasses handle small things quietly. Time, directions, simple prompts. And that's where the first real contradiction appears. Camera glasses can make you more present in the world while simultaneously making the world more aware of you. Presence increases on both sides, and that's not always comfortable. I turn down a quieter street. And this is where the internal questions get louder. If I capture a moment, am I stealing it? If I don't capture it, am I missing the point of wearing these at all? Camera glasses don't just give you tools. They ask you philosophical questions in the background. Questions about memory, consent, and intention. And they ask them repeatedly every time something interesting happens. A kid laughs loudly as he runs past his parent. My first instinct is the same instinct I've had for years. This would be a nice moment to remember. With a phone, I'd either pull it out or I wouldn't. The choice is clear. With camera glasses, the choice feels heavier. Recording becomes frictionless, but that doesn't make it thoughtless. In fact, it makes it more deliberate. Because when recording is easy, deciding not to record becomes a conscious act. And this is where the awkwardness deepens. I notice people noticing me, not staring. Just quick glances, microchecks. The kind of looks that say, "What is that?" Followed by immediate disinterest. Most of the time nobody cares. But knowing that they could care is enough to change how you feel. I enter a small store. Tight space. Close proximity. This is one of those environments where social rules feel stronger. I nod politely. Keep my movements calm. And something unexpected happens. The glasses fade into the background of my mind. Not because I forget them, but because I accept them. Acceptance doesn't come from the tech, it comes from repetition. The more normal you behave, the more normal everything feels. Still, the awkward truth doesn't disappear. It just evolves. I hear audio prompts softly, close to my ears but not blocking the world. They sound like whispers, not commands. This kind of audio design matters more in public than in private. Loud tech demands attention, quiet tech asks permission. Camera glasses that whisper feel more respectful, both to you and to others around you. And respect becomes currency when your device includes a lens. I reach the counter. The cashier looks at my face, then briefly at the frames. Just a flicker of curiosity, no comment, no confrontation. And that's the moment I realize something important. Most people aren't thinking about your tech nearly as much as you are. The awkwardness lives mostly in your head until you give it a reason to live somewhere else. That reason is the camera. I don't activate it yet. I wait, because this is where things can change fast. Recording in public isn't illegal in many places, but legality and comfort are not the same thing. Camera glasses sit right in that gap. And the truth is, wearing them responsibly isn't just about following rules, it's about reading rooms. I step back outside, and the light has shifted. The street is busier now. More people, more movement. This is where camera glasses either start to feel empowering or overwhelming. And the outcome depends entirely on how they integrate into your rhythm. Walking again, I notice my posture. My head stays up. My hands are free. That part feels incredible. Phones pull your gaze down. Camera glasses lift it back up. And that single change alters how you experience space. You notice signs earlier. You react faster. You feel less disconnected. That's the promise of this technology when it works well. But the cost of that benefit is social ambiguity. When you're holding a phone, your intent is obvious. When you're wearing camera glasses, intent becomes invisible, and invisibility can make people uneasy. I pass a cafe with outdoor seating, people talking, laughing, living their lives. This is not a place where I want to feel like a camera. And that's when I realized the most important rule of wearing camera glasses in public. Just because you can record doesn't mean you should. The best camera glasses don't turn you into a constant recorder. They turn you into a more selective one. That selectivity doesn't come from software. It comes from self-awareness. And that's something no spec can promise. I keep walking, and something subtle happens again. The awkwardness fades not because it disappears, but because it transforms. It becomes awareness instead of anxiety. I'm aware of where I am. Who's around me? When it feels appropriate to interact with technology, and when it doesn't. And that awareness is oddly grounding. This is where camera glasses reveal their real test. Not battery life, not camera quality, not audio clarity. The real test is whether they help you stay human while adding capability. And that balance is fragile. I finally activate the camera, not to capture people, but to capture perspective. A street scene. Movement. Light reflecting off windows. The act itself is almost invisible, no arm lifting. No blocking anyone's view, and that's both the strength and the risk. Because what feels invisible to you might not feel invisible to others. The clip records. It ends. No drama, no confrontation. Just a moment saved exactly as I saw it. And that's when I understand why this technology divides opinions so fast. When used thoughtfully, it feels natural. When imagined carelessly, it feels invasive. And imagination is powerful. As the sun lowers, the glasses feel heavier, not physically, but conceptually. Wearing them all day teaches you something about restraint. About choosing moments instead of collecting everything. And about how technology doesn't just extend your abilities, it exposes your values. I stop walking for a moment and reflect. Camera glasses aren't awkward because they're new. They're awkward because they challenge unspoken social contracts. They ask questions we're not used to answering. When is it okay to record? Who owns a moment? How visible should technology be? And here's the quiet truth that starts forming at the back of my mind. The awkwardness never fully goes away. But it doesn't need to. It just needs to become manageable, familiar, integrated. The same way smartphones once felt intrusive, strange, even rude until they became normal. But that normalization didn't happen overnight. And camera glasses are still early in that journey. As I turn toward home, one final thought lingers. If wearing these glasses already changes how I think without even using them much, what happens when I rely on them more? When recording becomes habitual? When convenience starts to outweigh consideration? That's the question that matters most. And it's not something you answer in a day, because the awkward truth about wearing camera glasses in public isn't just about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself when technology lives this close to your eyes. And in the next part, that question becomes much harder to ignore because that's when real interactions start pushing back. And the line between helpful and uncomfortable gets tested in ways I didn't expect. By the time I wear camera glasses for the second day in public, the novelty is gone, but the tension isn't. In some ways, that makes everything more revealing. Day 1 is about self-consciousness. Day 2 is about consequences. Because once you stop thinking, this feels strange, you start noticing how other people react when the glasses stop being new to you, but remain new to them. I step out again, same streets, similar routine. This time I don't hesitate at the door. The frames feel familiar on my face. The balance, the pressure points, the way audio sits just outside my ears, all of that fades into muscle memory. And that's exactly when the real awkwardness has room to grow. Because comfort can make you careless if you're not paying attention. Walking through the neighborhood, I noticed something interesting. Yesterday, I worried constantly about weather. People thought I was recording. Today, I worry less, and that worries me more, because awareness is a safety mechanism. When it disappears, behavior can drift without you realizing it. I pass a woman walking her dog. We make eye contact. She smiles briefly. Then her eyes flick to my glasses for half a second longer than normal. It's subtle, but it's there. Not fear, not anger, curiosity mixed with uncertainty. And here's the thing, she doesn't ask. Most people never will. Social discomfort doesn't usually turn into confrontation. It turns into silence, and silence is harder to read. That's one of the hidden social costs of camera glasses. They introduce questions that rarely get voiced out loud. Are you recording? Me? Should I act differently? Is this normal now? None of those questions get asked, but all of them get felt. And when people feel uncertain, they adjust, often in small, invisible ways. I stop at a coffee shop. Line is short. Space is tight. This is the kind of environment where body language matters. The cashier greets me, friendly, professional. I respond naturally. But there's a slight hesitation on both sides, like we're both calibrating, not about each other, but about the situation. This is where camera glasses quietly change power dynamics. A visible phone camera is obvious. It creates a clear moment where consent can be implied or denied. Camera glasses blur that clarity. Even when you're not recording, the possibility exists. And possibility alone is enough to influence behavior. I pay. I step aside. I wait for my drink. Standing there, I notice my reflection in the glass display. The frames look normal, stylish even, no blinking lights. No obvious indicators. And suddenly I understand why this technology triggers such strong reactions online. The less visible the tech, the more people project onto it. When people can't see what a device is doing, they fill in the gaps themselves. That's not a hardware problem, that's a human psychology problem. My drink is ready. As I turn to leave, a small moment happens. The barista glances at the glasses again, then back at me. There's a pause, almost like she's deciding whether to say something. She doesn't. The interaction ends politely. But that pause stays with me longer than the coffee. Outside, I keep walking. This is where camera glasses start to feel like a social experiment you didn't sign up to conduct. You're not just testing technology, you're testing norms. And then comes the first real test. I hear someone call out, "Hey, are those the glasses that record?" Not angry, not accusing. Just curious. I turn. A guy about my age, standing near a bus stop. He's not defensive. He's genuinely interested. This is important because reactions like this are rare, but they matter more than 100 silent glances. Yeah, I say they can. That's the moment everything changes. Notice the word can, not are, not do. Can. He nods. That's wild. Kinda cool, kinda creepy. We both laugh a little because that's the most honest summary anyone ever gives about camera glasses. Cool and creepy, sitting right next to each other, depending on how you think about it. Do you use it a lot? He asks. Not really, I reply. Only sometimes. That answer feels important. Because it's true and because it sets a boundary. I'm not a walking surveillance device. I'm a person wearing a tool. He nods again, satisfied. Conversation moves on, no conflict, no drama. But as I walk away, I realize something powerful. The awkwardness dissolved the moment intent became clear. Not through a spec sheet, not through a legal explanation. Through a human conversation. And that's when it hits me, camera glasses don't just require good design. They require good communication, and not from companies, from users. As the day goes on, I test myself more consciously. I choose not to activate the camera in crowded spaces. Not because I'm afraid, but because it doesn't feel right. I use the glasses for what they excel at quietly. Small bits of information. Quick checks. Subtle assistance that doesn't announce itself. That restraint creates trust. Not because anyone thanks me for it, but because nobody needs to question it. But let's be honest, not everyone will use restraint. And that's where the public discomfort really comes from. People don't fear the device itself. They fear how strangers might use it. I walk past a school. Kids playing, noise, movement, energy. This is a hard no. Not technically, but ethically. And ethics matter more with camera glasses than with almost any other consumer tech, because the tech lives at eye level. At human level, I take them off for a moment and keep walking. And the absence is noticeable. My phone stays in my pocket. But now I feel slightly disconnected again. That's another uncomfortable truth. Once you experience hands-free, glance-based access to information, going back feels heavier, slower, more fragmented. Camera glasses give, but they also change your expectations. And changed expectations can change behavior faster than rules ever could. Later in the day, I meet a friend. Casual meet. Nothing planned. I hesitate before showing up wearing the glasses. This is where the awkward truth gets personal. With strangers, you can brush off reactions. With people you know, reactions matter more. I keep them on. The moment we greet each other, he notices. Immediately. Those are new, he says. Yeah. Do they record? There it is again. Always the same question. They can. I say again, same word, same boundary. He looks at me for a second, then shrugs. Cool, just tell me if you're recording anything weird. We laugh, but underneath the humor is something serious, a request for consent. Spoken casually, but meaningful, and I agree instantly, without hesitation. Of course I would tell him, of course. But then I realize something unsettling. That assumption that I tell him comes from trust. Personal trust. Strangers don't get that assurance. They have to assume the best or prepare for the worst. This is the core tension camera glasses create. They compress the distance between private and public, personal and shared. And compression always generates heat. As we walk and talk, I don't use the camera at all. I don't feel the need. The glasses fade into the background again, doing their quiet support work. And in that moment they feel harmless, helpful, almost ideal. Until one small moment shifts everything. My friend says something funny, unexpected, genuinely laugh out loud funny. Instinctively, my brain registers it as a moment. A moment worth remembering. And my finger twitches just slightly toward the control. I stop myself. Not because I can't, because I shouldn't. And that split-second decision tells me more about this technology than any review ever could. Camera glasses don't record your life automatically. They ask you, over and over again, is this moment yours or shared? That question becomes exhausting if you ignore it. Empowering if you respect it. Dangerous if you forget it. As evening approaches, I head home again. The streets feel less intimidating now, but not because people changed. Because my understanding changed. The awkwardness didn't vanish. It matured. I realized that wearing camera glasses in public responsibly isn't about hiding what they do. It's about behaving in a way that makes their capabilities irrelevant most of the time. The quiet truth is this: the best camera glass users aren't the ones who record the most. They're the ones who know when not to. And that realization leads directly to the hardest part of all, because up next is the moment when someone doesn't react with curiosity or humor, but with discomfort. The moment when silence turns into confrontation. The moment that tests whether this technology can coexist with social trust at all. By the third day, the awkwardness stops being hypothetical. It stops living in glances, pauses, and half-spoken jokes. This is the day it becomes direct. And if you're going to wear camera glasses in public for any length of time, this day always arrives eventually. No matter how careful, polite, or restrained you are, it starts quietly, almost harmlessly. I step onto a bus during a busy afternoon. It's crowded, the kind of crowd where everyone pretends not to see each other. People stare at their phones, look out windows, lean into personal bubbles that don't really exist. This is exactly the environment where camera glasses feel most intrusive, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because anonymity feels fragile here. I take a seat near the middle. The glasses are on, powered, but idle. No camera use. No audio prompts. Just sitting there, existing. And still, I feel eyes on me, not constantly, but enough to notice. When someone looks away, then looks back again, you know something's up. A few stops later, a man standing nearby finally breaks the silence. Are those recording right now? His tone isn't aggressive, but it's not casual either. It's cautious, defensive, the kind of voice someone uses when they're protecting their space. No, I say immediately. No hesitation, they're not. He studies my face, then the glasses. How do I know? That's the question no spec sheet can answer. I could explain indicators. I could describe lights, controls, settings. But none of that matters in this moment because this isn't a technical question. It's a trust question. And trust doesn't come with receipts. You don't, I say honestly. All I can tell you is that I'm not recording. There's a pause. A few people nearby are now listening, pretending not to. The bus feels smaller, colder. This is the social pressure point camera glasses introduce. The moment where intent and perception collide without a clear referee. He nods slowly. Not convinced, not angry. Just unsettled. That's the problem, he says. And he's right, because camera glasses shift responsibility onto the wearer in a way phones never did. With a phone, recording is obvious. You raise it. You point it. With glasses, recording is invisible unless you actively signal it. That invisibility is powerful, and power without clarity makes people uneasy. I take off the glasses. Not dramatically. Not in protest. Just calmly, deliberately, and place them. In my bag. The tension dissolves almost instantly. Conversation around us resumes. The man looks away. The bus keeps moving. Crisis avoided, but I'm left with something heavier than embarrassment. Responsibility. Not legal responsibility, social responsibility. And this is where the conversation about camera glasses gets uncomfortable. For enthusiasts, because the technology isn't the hardest part. Behavior is. Once off the bus, I put the glasses back on. Outside, open air, movement. The discomfort fades again. And that contrast is important. Camera glasses feel appropriate. In motion-heavy environments, walking, traveling, exploring where documentation has always existed. They feel inappropriate in confined shared spaces where consent is assumed, not negotiated. And here's the part nobody talks about enough. The wearer has to make these judgment calls constantly. Every environment becomes a decision tree. Is this okay? Is this fair? Is this worth the discomfort it might cause? That mental load is real. Later, I stop by a small grocery store. Tight aisles. Close proximity. I leave the glasses on but consciously lower my gaze, avoid prolonged eye contact. I notice how my own behavior adapts to compensate for the device. I become more careful, more polite, more aware than usual. Camera glasses don't just change how others see you. They change how you see yourself. At checkout, the cashier says nothing. No pause this time, no glance. No hesitation, just a normal interaction. And oddly enough, that feels like a win. Because normalcy is the goal, not acceptance. Not excitement. Just normal. Outside again, I reflect on something uncomfortable. The technology isn't neutral. The moment you wear camera glasses, you carry the reputation of every irresponsible user who came before you. Every viral clip recorded without consent. Every creep headline. Every boundary crossed. You didn't do those things. But you inherit the suspicion. That's the awkward truth people don't realize until they live it. You're not just an early adopter. You're an ambassador, whether you want to be or not. Later that evening, another test arrives, this one quieter but deeper. I'm sitting on a park bench, watching the city slow down. Kids running, couples talking, someone playing music softly nearby. This is a beautiful moment, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Moments that feel beautiful, feel recordable. That urge creeps in naturally. This is where intention matters most, because this is where harm is easiest to rationalize. I'm not recording anyone specifically. It's public. It's just ambiance. But ambiance is made of people. I don't record. And that decision feels heavier than recording ever would, because camera glasses tempt you with frictionless memory capture. They remove effort from documentation, which is normally what makes us pause and ask, is this worth it? When effort disappears, ethics have to step in and take its place. On the walk home, I finally understand why this technology feels awkward, not because it's new, but because it exposes a gap between what's technically allowed and what's socially accepted. Laws are slow. Norms are slower. Technology moves fastest of all. That gap is where discomfort lives. By the time I reach my door, I'm exhausted. Not physically, mentally. Wearing camera glasses responsibly means constantly reading rooms, interpreting reactions, predicting discomfort before it happens. It's emotional labor layered on top of daily life. And yet, I don't hate the glasses. That realization surprises me. Because despite all the tension, awkwardness, and social friction, I've also experienced moments of genuine usefulness. Hands-free convenience, subtle assistance, freedom from constantly reaching for a phone. The tech itself isn't bad. It's powerful, and power always demands maturity. The real question isn't, are camera glasses awkward? They are. The real question is whether society and users can grow into them without losing trust along the way, and that question becomes even harder when we look at the people who don't think this deeply about it. The ones who record first and reflect later. Because up next is the part nobody wants to talk about. The line where curiosity turns into fear, where misuse isn't hypothetical anymore, and where public tolerance starts to crack. Because once camera glasses stop being rare, the real test begins. By the fourth day, the environment changes, but more importantly, the reactions do. This is where the story stops being about curiosity or mild discomfort and starts becoming about boundaries. Invisible ones, unspoken ones. The kind that don't come with warnings until you've already crossed them. It happens in a place you wouldn't expect much resistance at all. A casual meetup with acquaintances. Not close friends, not strangers. The most complicated group of all. People who know your name, but not your habits. People who feel comfortable enough to speak up, but not comfortable enough to be blunt. I walk in wearing the glasses. Same as before. No dramatic entrance. No announcement. Just a normal arrival. A couple people notice immediately. One raises an eyebrow. Someone else tilts their head slightly, trying to decide whether to ask. Conversation starts normally. Weather. Work small talk, but there's a delay in eye contact. People don't look at me the same way they did a week ago. Their eyes linger on the frames longer than necessary. And slowly the questions come out, not as accusations, but as jokes. So, are we being filmed right now? Laughter follows. Light laughter. Defensive laughter. The kind that fills space, but doesn't answer the question. I smile. No, they're not recording. Oh good, someone says quickly and the topic shifts. But it doesn't really shift. It just sinks beneath the surface. As the conversation continues, something subtle happens. People start positioning themselves differently. Sitting slightly to the side instead of directly in front, leaning back, keeping hands out of view. No one mentions it, but the behavior changes. And when behavior changes, that's data. This is the part no promotional video ever shows. The social geometry shift. Camera glasses don't just change how people see you. They change how people place themselves around you. At one point, someone leans in and lowers their voice. No offense, they say, but camera glasses make me feel like I have to be on, like I can't relax. That sentence hits harder than any confrontation, because being on is exhausting. And nobody wants to feel that way around friends. I take the glasses off again. Same ritual as before, calm, respectful. Immediate relief follows, shoulders drop, eye contact returns. Conversation flows again. This is a pattern now. And patterns teach you things. Later that night, alone, I think about how phones didn't cause this exact reaction, even when they first arrived. Phones were tools you activated. Camera glasses are tools you wear. That difference matters more than specs ever will. Wearing a camera on your face collapses the distance between observation and recording. Even when nothing is being captured, the potential is always present. And humans react more strongly to potential surveillance than actual surveillance. It's the uncertainty that unsettles. The next morning, I decide to test the opposite extreme. Full transparency. I meet a friend for coffee. Before we even sit down, I say it out loud. These have a camera, but it's off. If I want to take a photo, I'll tell you first. They nod. Thanks for saying that. The conversation is completely normal. No tension. No jokes. No hesitation. That's the lesson right there. Communication dissolves awkwardness, but communication requires effort. It requires awareness. And not everyone wearing camera glasses will bother. This leads to the hardest truth of all. Public perception won't be shaped by careful users. It will be shaped by careless ones. And because of that, the responsibility placed on thoughtful users is unfair but unavoidable. As the day goes on, I notice I'm developing habits I never consciously planned. I check reflective surfaces to see if indicator lights are visible. I angle my head differently. I mentally note who's around me before even thinking about interacting with the device. This isn't fear. It's adaptation. Camera glasses quietly train you to be more aware of others' comfort. Ironically, the same technology accused of being invasive can, when used responsibly, make the wearer more considerate than average. But that depends entirely on mindset. That evening, while walking through a busy street, someone stops me outright. "Hey, are those the glasses that record people?" Straightforward. No malice. Just curiosity mixed with caution. "They can," I say. "But I only use them when I need to, and I don't record strangers." They nod slowly. Cool. Just wondering. And they walk away. That small interaction feels like progress. Not acceptance, understanding. This is how normalization actually happens. Not through marketing, not through influencers, but through thousands of tiny, respectful interactions where fear is replaced with clarity. By the end of the fourth day, something inside me settles. The awkwardness doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable, predictable. I know when to wear the glasses and when not to. I know when to explain and when to simply take them off. That's the invisible skill camera glasses demand. Judgment. Not everyone will have it. And that's why the discomfort exists. As I place the glasses on the table at night, I think about the title of this whole experience, the awkward truth. The truth isn't that camera glasses are creepy. The truth is that they expose how unprepared society still is for passive recording technology. They surface anxieties we've never fully resolved around consent, attention, and memory. Camera glasses don't create the tension. They reveal it. And maybe that's why they feel so uncomfortable right now. Because they force a question we'd rather avoid. Just because something can be recorded, should it be? Until that question has a shared answer, the awkwardness will remain. But so will the possibility. The possibility that, handled with care, transparency, and restraint, this technology can eventually find its place not as a threat, not as a novelty, but as a quiet tool that respects the space it inhabits. And that's where the real future of camera glasses lives. Not in resolution or battery life, but in trust. The uncomfortable, fragile, earned kind.